at the midway point of the fourth quarter.
Suchek's goal marked 4 in a row for the Tar Heels, and for good measure, UNC added one more.
South of GLE, Wilson. That's where he's comfortable. Has the shorty matchup with McCarthy. 15 to shoot, 1:50 to play. UNC up by 1. Crossfield pass. It's a shot and a score from Wilson. Duffy finds him on the backside, and UNC strikes right back with 1:45 to play. It's 12-10 Heels.
That's what you call a cherry on the top. Brevin Wilson led UNC with 3 goals in tonight's game, and the fourth quarter run was just too much for SU to handle.
Whistle blows, Roa launches it up ahead, stopped by Marcus. He launches it into the Charlotte sky, and North Carolina controls the fourth quarter, scores 5 of the game's final 6 goals, and dances its way to an ACC championship clash with Virginia Sunday afternoon. 12-10 your final, second-seeded North Carolina over third-seeded Syracuse.
So there you have it, UNC over Syracuse in the ACC semis, the second time in 3 years that SU has bowed out in the tournament semifinals, sandwiched between a championship win last year. Well, it's time to award our WAER player of the game, and interestingly enough, he actually did not have a goal in those highlights we just played for you, but he did have a lot of assists on them, and that's because Owen Duffy, behind a 6-assist performance, is your WAER player of the game. May not get a ton of recognition because he doesn't have the goal numbers necessarily to back it up, but 6 assists doing what he does best all season long. He terrorizes the Orange tonight, and UNC books its spot in the ACC championship game. That means the ACC tournament is over for the Orange, and all attention turns to the NCAA tournament. SU finds out its fate just about 48 hours from now, Sunday, May 3rd, a 9:30 p.m. selection show. That means we're about 47 hours away. Syracuse finds out if it's hosting. It probably is. More importantly, who it's hosting a week from now, either on Saturday, May 9th or Sunday, May 10th. Before we send things over to the double overtime, a couple of quick thank yous to hand out to our producer, Dan Papillo, our engineer, Milo Hoffman, doing a great job on the board for the first time, our radio replay, Evan Simbita, and our entire WAER sports desk. It's always a great effort from everyone involved. Syracuse, though, couldn't say the same as the Orange fall 12-10 in the ACC semifinals. It is time for the double overtime to break down this loss. Josh Rother and John Baccio have you up until 11:30 p.m. You can call in, as always, at 315-443-2011. And guys, it really seemed like 3 quarters that SU may be headed back to the championship game, but that fourth quarter, just a lot of disappointment.
Absolutely. I mean, defense was a struggle to say the least in this one. Alongside Josh Rothard, I'm John Baccio here for your double overtime. But Josh, what a struggle in the second half.
It feels like it's the second time in a row that they do this in the second half. They have Notre Dame on the ropes at Arlotta Stadium. They have North Carolina on the ropes in the semifinals, and they just can't get it done. What happens? What happens at halftime?
Well,
where
what
the
happens
change happens is so significant.
The defense just falls apart, Josh.
It's unbelievable.
It absolutely falls apart. After a goal apiece in the first quarter, this one totally flipped on its head. Syracuse heads into the half with a 2-score lead, and it ends in a 2-score loss. 12-10, your final. Second-seeded North Carolina takes down third-seeded Syracuse. We'll break it all down here on the double overtime up until 11:30, and it starts right now.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER rolls on. We're breaking down all the highs.
Pass in front, working through traffic. Hiltz ends it! Pure elation in the JMA Wireless Dome. Owen Hiltz, catch, shoot, score, and advance.
The shot wide. Eric Bolivar missed the target. The ball trickles out of bounds. And Syracuse holds on 9-8. It's all over, and for the first time in 9 years, Syracuse is the last team standing in the ACC.
And the lows
For the first time in program history, Harvard hands Syracuse a loss. The Crimson crawl back from the jaws of defeat.
Syracuse, with its closest shot at a championship in over a decade, gets sent home after a 14-8 loss to the Terrapins in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament.
While bringing you the hottest takes along the way.
You need to stick to your basics on offense. If you get an open look, fire it. You don't have to do a little razzle-dazzle. You don't have to do a spin. Just shoot it.
Games like that, you're not going to get a Jimmy McCool 18 safe performance every time. You're not going to get these bad turnovers that Syracuse calls. Like 6 calls turnovers isn't going to happen in every single contest, and you can't sort of rely on that. It's going to be really difficult to get that sort of production every game without a response.
There was a calming sense around this team, and that's what you want from a top team who has championship aspirations. You have to know how to close out games like we've been preaching nonstop, and they did that. This is where teams separate themselves from the okay teams to the great teams, and Syracuse did that today. It's plain and simple.
Get your voice heard by calling 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube and X at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Welcome back into the double overtime. Alongside Josh Rothert, I'm John Baccio. 2nd-seeded North Carolina takes down 3rd-seeded Syracuse 12-10 in the ACC semifinals. Josh, we briefly mentioned it. A horrible second half plagues Syracuse once again.
I think if you had watched just the first quarter of this game, there was no way you would have thought the defense was the reason that Syracuse would have lost this game.
Without a doubt.
I mean, you look at what Jordan Beck and Riley Figueres were doing against the Tar Heels attack in the first quarter, limiting them to 1 goal. They had their struggles the first time. I mean, Syracuse really never led in the first meeting in Chapel Hill. And today, the defense kind of sets the tone.
This game was 5-2 at one point because Syracuse's offense found its stride, and they found it at a good time when UNC's defense really couldn't put anything together. Then you take it to the second half,
and it
all falls apart. Now, I will say, weirdly enough, Jordan Beck might have been the best long pull today.
Which last week,
he got benched.
He was benched.
For Chuck Kaczynski. Which rightfully so. I mean, Kaczynski did have a phenomenal game against Notre Dame. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
The main point...
That might be the only positive you can take away.
Which is insanity.
And he was tasked with Dom Petramala.
And he held him to just
5 goals past McCool last time and held him to 1 goal.
Held him to just 1 goal today on just 5 shots as well. Which for Dominic Petramala, it may sound crazy, but that's a bit of an off day.
He's in the double digits most nights.
A lot of the time. We've seen him as high as 11 shots, and we've seen 9ers all over the place. Jordan Beck held him well. He stayed on him very consistently. And then when it came to that zone look towards the end of the game, that is where it really fell apart. In your most crucial moments, late in the fourth quarter, in crunch time, Coach O'Derna, who's one of the best schematically in college lacrosse, decides to go to a zone and let a bunch of spot-up shooters
I didn't understand that at all.
It was
the matchup.
absurd.
The matchup already makes no sense for you to do that.
Exactly. It's insanity to me to think about how Syracuse can look at what they have been struggling with all game or what they've been doing well all game and just throw it all out the window, say, hey, let's try something new. We only have a couple minutes left, and it all falls to pieces. And when Syracuse needed it most, when they needed a stop, it couldn't get it done. It is absurd to me, Josh.
It's unreal. And so the thing is if you take this game at face value, it's a 2-goal loss to a top 5 team.
Yeah, which it felt like much more at the end.
It felt like they got ran out of American Legion Memorial Stadium. The defense was actually, if you look at the numbers, Syracuse actually forced 20 turnovers in this game compared to just 16 turnovers for Syracuse. So, when you look at the numbers, Syracuse actually won a defensive battle in this game. Now, I would argue their turnovers were in transition, which cannot happen. It was on the clear. They had 5 failed clears. It just felt rushed. The whole operation was just rushed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know our play-by-play broadcasters were talking about this has been a strong clearing team all season. They've gone up against Rides, They struggled a little bit against Colgate, but they dominated St. Joe's, and I don't think UNC was really doing all that of a ride in this game.
No, there was no 10-man
There was no
ride
reason for them to fail 5 clears.
No, there's no 10-man ride that UNC is throwing at you. They play the classic one where Syracuse has seen it a million times, and yet at the end of the game, you had Syracuse turn the ball over after an EMO opportunity for UNC, which they've been all over all season, above 50%. They rank the best in the ACC. You actually get a stop on one, and you get to the middle of the field and you throw a pass 5 feet above Luke Roa's head, and all of a sudden it's a turnover. There's not much more you can do about that except just say, okay, oh my gosh, we can't clear the ball 5 times? Is that what Coach Gate is going to go into the huddle and say?
I don't understand how you can feel so rushed.
No, not at all.
In a game of this magnitude where you're playing, I feel like they were playing for something still. I mean, I think the seedings, we'll get to it. This is a big game for that.
Oh,
and
without a doubt.
They fall flat on their face in a game where they could have really proved something. I don't see the reason why there's 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter in a 1-goal game, why they're rushing clears. What is so important that they need to be in the attacking third?
It's because
early.
What Syracuse has praised all season long is getting out in transition, making everything super snappy. When the ball is moving crisp, it works. When it's not, it's really, really not.
They're in quicksand.
Yeah. There were multiple points throughout this game where it was just head-scratching pass after head-scratching pass. And it wasn't one player, it wasn't 2 players, it was everybody.
Yeah.
Joey Spallina was throwing passes 5 feet above people's heads. Luke Roa was catching them like he's never caught a ball in his life before. And then when you're into the clear, Jake Spallina is making the same issues.
Yep.
Dante Bowen couldn't get on it.
Hoddle sailed a couple.
Everybody was just poor when it came to passing today, which is unusual to say the least. It reminded me a lot of when it played Princeton a few games into the season. Yeah.
This is game 16, and we're having the same issues.
It's true. But the one thing that you can say is that it's been a fairly uncommon issue.
Yeah.
Turning the ball over is not something that Syracuse does a whole lot normally. Midway through the season, it was the best team in terms of turnovers per game in the entire nation. Yep. They haven't fallen much further than that.
And they got a Virginia team that was very good at turning the ball over, and they basically flipped the script on them. They didn't turn the ball over at all in that game.
Exactly. You also got gifted an 18-save performance from Jimmy McCool in that one, but that is besides the point. If you want to voice your thoughts on Syracuse's sloppy second half and their downfall in a 12-10 loss to North Carolina in the ACC semis, call us in. 315-443-2011 is the number to shout at, and you can also reach us on YouTube and Twitter at WAER Sports Talk. We've got you up until 11:30 here on the Double Overtime with Josh Rothert. I'm John Baccio. Josh, it was just insanity towards the end, and I think what really caught my eye is the fact that Syracuse did the classic Syracuse where it's down in the fourth quarter and just decides, I'm going to start throwing body checks.
I didn't think they started a brawl, which was good.
No,
but
that's
the penalties
a win in
again.
Syracuse's
The penalties
book
again.
at this point.
3 penalties in the fourth quarter. It feels
After
like
you had won the entire game.
It's a recurring theme. And yes, they had EMO chances and they didn't convert. And UNC had EMO chances, and by the end of the game, they finally started to convert. I don't understand why at the end of the game, either Gary Gate or whoever is riling this team up at the end of the game, we can't see that Gate is talking to the team and explaining to them that they need to get a stop on defense and not get a penalty. Yeah. Because it is time and time again. 3 penalties in the fourth quarter, including a double man up. For North Carolina.
It started the 5-goal stretch for North Carolina where UNC scored 5 of the last 6 in this game.
Yep.
That was where it
was
really all began. And it's because John Mullen trips, Billy Dwan does everything but throw a cross-check at him.
Just launches.
And the worst part about it was that one happened before a goal and the other happened after.
Yep.
Where Luke Baer, or rather not Luke Baer, Brevin Wilson gets tossed to the turf because he fires off a shot, and Billy Dwan 5 seconds after says, nah, can't take that one. Cannot have that one. And just throws him to the ground. Now, Billy Dwan's a spark plug for this team that Syracuse has praised all season long. Coach O'Derna, Gary Gate have all talked him up so highly. And, I mean, he was nearly a top 10 pick in the PLL draft for a reason. But when his temper flares, that is where this game comes down to it. Because when he's getting all over the place, the whole team's getting all over the place.
It's sporadic, and it's true, because you saw it at the end of this game again, and you've seen it time and time again. Another thing in the second half, I'll say, because, obviously, 5 of the last 6 goals is a huge issue, but another thing that has plagued this team, and it's been, I would argue, a season-long issue, unlike some of the other things. The penalties have obviously been there. The face-offs.
It was inevitable, wasn't it?
It was inevitable. You thought for a second John Mullen finally made Brady Wambach look human. He did enough in the first half to give Syracuse a 3-goal lead at one point.
I don't even think it was John Mullen making Brady Wambach look human. It was John Mullen finally seeming like John Mullen again.
And we haven't seen that in a long. We didn't see that in
all season.
All season.
We haven't seen it all season.
And
Mullen has been a shell of himself.
And you thought for a second you might actually get a full game of John Mullen as John Mullen. And then the second half comes, and John Mullen does not.
Yeah, no, he does not. I think what really sums it up for me is Wambach took all 26 faceoffs in this game. Clean sheet, no violations.
Let's see. How many did John Mullen have to sit on the sideline for?
Was it 1?
No.
No. Was it 2?
It's higher than that.
It can't be higher than 4, right?
It's higher than 4.
I forgot. He missed 6 face-offs due to violations. And this isn't a rarity. In fact, that might be a good game for him.
I wouldn't say a good game, but he's got to be up there. He might be leading the nations in face-off violations because
it would not surprise me whatsoever because, look, he might be a coach's dream in terms of, like, not giving up on the play. That's something that he has never done when he's on a face-off, but he only doesn't give up on the play because he doesn't win it half the time.
Yeah.
He was 10 of 20 today. Wambach was 14 of 26, which for Brady Wambach is objectively not his best performance.
You kept him in check outside of the 2-goal stint he had by himself.
We went into halftime, and it was 7-2 Mullen.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, if you just watch the first 2 quarters of this game, I mean, you would think Syracuse is one of the best teams in the country. They were very good defensively, especially the Poles. They kept Owen Duffy and Dominic Petramala limited in the first half, and then they take one of the best Fogos in the nation, and they make him look not so good. They make him look mediocre in the first half. I can't sit here and say that I'm not tired of saying this team is a tale of two halves basically every game.
It's honestly mind-numbing to me how last game against Notre Dame was pretty prevalent, where you saw a clear switch between two halves.
Yeah, this one I think more of a fourth quarter, just like you just lost Syracuse footing for a second, and they just
Syracuse still had a lead heading into the final 15 minutes.
Exactly, 2-goal lead. Yeah,
it didn't look bad heading into the final frame.
Correct.
And then that fourth quarter hits, and tempers flare, and the sloppy play was through the roof. I can't get over 18 of 23 on clears.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Far more than problematic. That's season ending. If Syracuse waltzes into the NCAA tournament and is 18 of 23 on clears again, SU won't win a game.
No, especially when you look at who their potential matchup could be. UNC may be a little more forgiving in the fact that I don't look at UNC as a crazy defensive team. I don't think Josh Marcus is a great defensive player, and I think, one of our play-by-play broadcasters, Adam Hipsky, kind of summed it up before the game. I think Syracuse's offense against UNC's defense, I think you give the edge to Syracuse's offense.
Absolutely.
So,
especially because,
So this was a case of Syracuse shooting itself in the foot.
Without a doubt. And North Carolina's goalkeeper, Josh Marcus, was pretty solid.
He was good today.
But he should not be a guy that gets in the way of Syracuse scoring more than 10 goals.
Absolutely not.
Especially when you
And
even
he's done
had
it 2 times this season.
you even had 11 on Richie Urdelli of Notre Dame.
Yep.
Who's probably a top 3 goaltender in the nation.
Yep.
If you could put up that kind of performance on that caliber of goalkeeper, you can only put up 10 on a freshman?
Yeah.
And Jimmy McCool gets outplayed by a freshman?
For the second time this season, McCool, he cannot seem to size up North Carolina.
I don't know what the issue is a lot of the time with Jimmy McCool. What was easily the most standout-ish play for McCool for me this game was Owen Duffy's singular goal. Wraps around the crease on the north side. McCool already had gotten beaten low multiple times throughout the game, so he guesses low, crouches down, and Duffy just takes an extra half second to clock what's going on and throws it right over his head into the back of the cage.
Can you take the good with the bad?
Is that him getting in his head? Is that him just guessing that Duffy goes low because he likes that bouncer?
I think, again, McCool, serviceable goalie. I think he's proven that when he's on, and he's serviceable.
I would even say, like, in that Notre Dame game, he was on.
And I was going to say that. I think last week, McCool gave them a chance to win.
Without a doubt. Obviously, it's tough when you get 34 shots fired at you.
He faced an unbelievable amount of shots.
For reference, Notre Dame had more shots on goal that Syracuse had total.
Wrong. One more for Syracuse.
One more for Syracuse total.
Close. But
close enough.
The thing is McCool, if he does that against Notre Dame and your offense plays like they did in the first half, there should be without a doubt you should win that game. And today, if McCool plays like he did against Notre Dame and your offense plays like they did today, you should win that game. So now it's just putting the pieces together. Because I do think if the offense plays like they have at their moments this year where they score 15, 16 goals, where they beat up on Virginia, they beat up on Georgetown, and McCool is serviceable or good, Syracuse is going to go to the Final Four. But if anything short of that, they're not.
This is also the mental debate that I've had with SU this season, is the fact that we had this same conversation last year.
Yeah.
The Orange lose 3 straight going into the postseason, and then they turn around and win the ACC championship. And then they turn around and go to championship weekend, when everybody was so low on them going into the ACC tournament. And I think the only issue I'm having right now is the fact that Syracuse went in losing 2 of its last 3 to this game. And this was the opportunity for a lot of people to say, okay, Syracuse is still there. It proved all the doubters right.
It feels similar to last year because I think the sentiment right now is fairly low on Syracuse.
Oh, without a doubt.
I don't think you can turn in efforts like this in 3 of your last 4 games or 3 of your last 4 ACC games. Colgate was sandwiched in there. I don't think you can feel good about it.
And the most frustrating part for SU fans is the fact that you're going to be playing teams of ACC caliber or better every single time.
They haven't, I don't think, and hey, really, they did a good job at the start of the year. I will say this: if this was Duke playing today in Syracuse's shoes, they'd be in trouble. They already are in trouble because they missed the ACC championship. But Syracuse did a decent job at the start of the year, setting themselves up so that this game has very minor implications.
Little to no meaning.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2-goal loss to a top 5 team, and you're
to
already
a top 3 team probably,
and you're already safely in the field. So, what you were going to gain from this win was
jumping a little higher,
getting a more favorable first-round matchup, and getting a chance to defend the ACC title against what we think is the most favorable matchup they have in the ACC.
It could be a lot of different scenarios for Syracuse come Selection Sunday. And this game definitely didn't help the Orange's case. If you'd like to talk a little bracketology, call in 315-443-2011 or reach us on Twitter and YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. There's definitely a lot to be said about how Syracuse's scheduling has probably been the only reason that they're going to be in the NCAA tournament right now.
And John, I mean, when you look at this schedule that they amassed at the start of the year, it was
daunting.
It was daunting.
And it was daunting throughout the year.
But if you look at it now, I mean, that Duke win was massive when they got it.
Maryland win. Massive when they got it.
Massive when they got it. Even the Georgetown win. That was a top 12 team.
Currently, Syracuse's best win is Hopkins.
And Hopkins might not even win the Big Ten.
Yeah, but that's still a top 8 team in RPI.
Absolutely.
In the eyes of the committee, that'll go down still as a big win.
But in the grand scheme of things, so many chances to have a better signature win than Johns Hopkins
or Virginia.
2 times against UNC, once against Notre Dame, once against Princeton. All 4 of those games, losses.
And you have that loss to Harvard on your side.
That loss to Harvard, who really did not look good today. No. And they will probably be out of the field now. So that's a bad loss.
Lost by double digits to Cornell in the Ivy League tournament today.
Yeah. So when it's all said and done, this schedule, I mean, great win against Maryland, obviously, but I mean, Maryland might not even make the tournament. So in the grand scheme of things, they really didn't do a whole lot of anything this year. They lost to the teams they should have lost to. And
yeah,
they
it's going to
beat the
sneak
teams
in.
they should have beat. And of course, they will sneak in, and they do have a good enough RPI ranking to host a home game in the playoffs. But they didn't set themselves up to have a favorable matchup in the first round. I mean, they're going to have to fight to get by.
Without a doubt. And that's the main issue for the Orange is the fact that Richmond already jumped it in RPI.
Yep.
So now you're more than likely the 5 seed. But let's say Virginia stomps back into American Legion Memorial Stadium and beats North Carolina for the ACC championship. Does Virginia jump Syracuse at that point?
With 6 losses. And they had a really, really rough start to the year.
Extremely. But it's the Notre Dame Killers.
And then they beat UNC. They would have better wins than Syracuse did.
Without a doubt. They already have a better win than Syracuse did.
Absolutely.
In fact, they've got 2 of them.
Yep.
Both against the same team. And if it knocks off North Carolina, they've got 3 better wins than Syracuse.
So I don't think there's even an argument anymore.
No, there's definitely an argument.
Well, Syracuse
still has 6 losses on the schedule.
And Syracuse did beat them.
Precisely.
So if you put them up head-to-head, Syracuse 5-goal win at home, they might still come out on top in that one.
I would think SU still probably has the higher seed in that case.
But
if Virginia
it shouldn't even be an argument right now that Syracuse and Virginia should be. You shouldn't even really be arguing about this. I mean, 3 weeks ago, after they beat Virginia, no one would have said, well, on Selection Sunday, we're going to need to compare Syracuse and Virginia. Because the state of where Syracuse was after that Virginia win versus where Virginia was after losing to Syracuse, polar opposites.
The only thing that SU can really be excited for is the fact that it probably still gets, or not probably, it'll host round 1.
It will, yes. Oh, yeah.
The Orange will host round 1, probably no matter what. And you're going to have to either face a Patriot League winner, a Big East winner, or the first at-large team. Which the first at-large team is probably the worst option there, outside of maybe Army. I
would be scared to play Army right now.
It's projected to be, if Syracuse is the 4-seeded, more than likely play Army. If Syracuse is the 5-seeded, more than likely play Georgetown. And if Syracuse is the 6, probably Penn State.
And, John, there's not a great matchup in there that you would feel good about Syracuse having a comfortable win to move on.
The only one I'd say Syracuse could potentially comfortably move on would be Georgetown.
And we've seen them play against each other this
But
year.
you need another vintage defensive performance
Yep.
from Riley Figueres and Billy Dwan, who shut down
The
Liam
Connor
and
brothers.
Rory Connor.
Yep.
Who are a top 3 duo in the entirety of college lacrosse, probably. They shut them down last time, but it's tough to do it twice. Then again, you look into this game, and North Carolina shut down Syracuse's entire offense twice. So,
And then there's Army, and I think I'd be hard pressed if you could find albeit they play in the Patriot League, but Army is
Patriot League scrappy.
They
It's
are
a scrappy conference.
Army is one of the most complete teams, and they played North Carolina at Dorrance Field way better than Syracuse did. They led in the fourth quarter of that one, only lost by 1 goal. And
Evan Plunkett, a first-round pick out of Army. Midfielder's been on fire this season. He's played Syracuse a couple times before. He's played well against Syracuse a couple times before. That's not a matchup you're excited for if you're Coach O'Derna and company.
Nope. So you have Army, you have Penn State, who just posted a dominant defensive effort yesterday against Maryland, 8-6 win in the semis. And, I mean, we saw Syracuse play Maryland earlier in the year, but Eric Spanos, Leo Johnson, those are some names that were up on the Tewaaraton watch list at the start of the year, completely taken out of that game. Now, there's been a lot of trouble for Maryland, but Penn State defensively,
stout.
Very stout. And when you look at the fact that a lot hinges on Joey Spallina in these big games, you do not want to see those results.
My one thing is I think we've shied away from the actual game. 12-10, 2nd seed in North Carolina, knocks off 3rd seed at Syracuse in the ACC semis. I think we have shied away from the fact that Joey Spallina is nowhere near the reason Syracuse loses this game.
Nope.
I mean, his IQ, his patience, his vision for the field, we say it every single double overtime, how good he
drew doubles,
is.
He set up players, and I mean, Syracuse had 3 players with a hat trick tonight.
No goals, 4 assists for Joey Spallina at the final line, 3 ground balls as well, only 2 turnovers, and he's got the ball in his hands a lot of the time.
Yep.
Spallina played great.
Did his job.
Without a doubt. I think one guy that would really need to step up in the NCAA tournament for Syracuse, and this is not someone that people probably would have expected me to say before the season started, is Peyton Anderson. 5 points in that game against Notre Dame was a big reason they were even in it before halftime. And today he fell flat. 1 goal on 7 shots. If he throws a couple extra that are good on Cage, this is a totally different game.
Absolutely.
And Peyton Anderson had some horrible shots in this one. He had, towards the end of the game, from no angle, Syracuse down 2, tries to load a high ripper from about 10 yards out that sailed probably 50 feet over the cage.
I was going to say, I think we're thinking about the same one. Yeah. It was pretty bad. That
was one of the worst shots of the day.
It was the worst shot of the day.
There probably was worse. It's a team with Michael Leo on it. No, actually, Leo did play really well.
Leo played
today.
great. He had some long range hits, and he was actually moving past.
And it was finally because he wasn't tasked with passing the ball. It was, hey, Michael Leo, here's the ball. Go dodge.
And he made
shoot.
plays. It wasn't like he stood 15 yards from Cage and just ripped a missile. He was actually moving.
His goal for the hat trick was incredible.
Yeah.
An absolute snipe into the top left where he dodges down the right alley, gets by his defender, hands free, and scoops it up and in. It was a rocket.
And came from behind Cage earlier in the game and just kind of outran one of the UNC defenders.
Without a doubt.
And just put one past Marcus easily. So I was impressed with Leo today. I thought he actually played up to what we've seen.
I thought Luke Roa was very good.
Yeah.
There's not a bad shot in Luke Roa's playbook. He's probably the best in college lacrosse from distance. And he's effectively ambidextrous as well.
Yep.
So those two...
The offense, very little to blame outside of when they actually had to take care of the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And towards the end of the game, the ball wasn't even in the offensive third.
Yeah.
There was no chances for them to create opportunities when, once again, Syracuse failed 5 clears. 5 of them. And turned the ball over 3 times in the final frame.
Yeah, I think I just keep looking at that 5.
Also, I think this is another astonishing one that we've glossed over. 10-4 on ground balls between UNC and Syracuse in the Final Four.
Wanted it more.
Definition of it.
Every ground ball, it felt, went to
in the second
UNC.
quarter when Syracuse had the 5-3 run, it was 14-5 in favor of the Orange.
There's a shift.
Balls.
There has to be something at halftime that either they have a mental lapse and they just forget what they did right in the first half, or these teams are adjusting and Syracuse just tries to play the same 60 minutes of lacrosse, because it's 2 weeks in a row where we've seen substantially better outputs from Syracuse's opponent than Syracuse.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
we heard Sean Light talk about it last week when we were there, and he said we were a little slower to slide. Now today, it wasn't really an offensive issue, but maybe it was we were better in transition, forcing ground balls and forcing turnovers, because that's what happened in the second half. Syracuse forgot how to clear.
SU was just flustered by the end of it.
Yeah.
And that was that. So, a sloppy second half, some defensive lapses, and a whole lot of turnovers led us to a 12-10 final, 2nd-seeded North Carolina over 3rd-seeded Syracuse in the ACC championship semifinals to take us into NCAA tournament play for the Orange. We've still got more here on the Double Overtime. We bring in our play-by-play broadcaster, Drew Albaugh, into the Double Overtime in just a few moments. You won't want to miss it here on the other side on WAER.
On the next Putumayo World Music Hour,
we'll spotlight some international hits that brought world music to mainstream audiences, including Santana and Jimmy Cliff. I'm Dan Storper.
And I'm Rosalie Howarth. Join us for World Hits, the next Putumayo World Music Hour.
Sunday night at 11 on WAER, your local NPR station from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University.
There is a one-stop listen for everything Syracuse athletics.
Syracuse men's lacrosse had arguably maybe Gary Gates' best weekend ever as head coach.
The Ostrom Avenue podcast provides unique opinions, plus exciting interviews from industry experts.
The voice of Syracuse men's lacrosse and Syracuse women's basketball as well. Tim Leonard, Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com.
Check out weekly episodes and listen at WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thought about a shot, passes Roa, doorstep, shoots, scores! Luke Roa gets lost in the sauce. Spallina doesn't miss him, and it's the first point for Joey Spallina against the Tar Heels this season.
One of 4 Joey Spallina assists at American Legion Memorial Stadium in a 12-10 loss. 3rd-seed Syracuse falling to 2nd-seed North Carolina for the second time this year and ending their ACC championship on Friday. Well, our play-by-play broadcaster Drew Albaugh was down in Charlotte for the 12-10 loss, and we can bring him in now. Drew, not a great defensive effort today for Syracuse, and just a tale of two halves. How you doing down in Charlotte?
I'm doing good, right? End of the day, it's lacrosse, it's good weather, so I'm doing good. North Carolina, obviously, doing maybe a little bit better right now. You say tale of two halves, almost tale of 3 quarters versus the fourth quarter, right?
Certainly.
It just felt like the end there, North Carolina started to finally stop making those mistakes that were really putting them back in the first and second quarters of action. This is really a head-scratcher for me, it is. I've been listening to you guys a little bit talk about various things, the clears, right, not great towards the end of the game. But if you wanted to sign on the dotted line that Marcus would be right around 50%, McCool would be sure right under 50%, but Wambach didn't dominate the game, North Carolina with 20 turnovers, and you lose, it's a tough one to swallow for sure.
And Drew, it really didn't feel like there was an area you could have attacked where Syracuse would have even won the game. I mean, watching the game, it just felt like, obviously, in that fourth quarter, it was a collapse, but you didn't really feel confident about any area of play. Did head coach Gary Gate have anything to say about, maybe what he thought was the reason for the loss today?
to be honest with you, not really, right? He was talking about how the big thing he was saying really is the energy was there compared to last game out against North Carolina. He kept citing that, saying we were ready to play this one. We felt like we had it. The mentality going into it was different than last time out. Our guys felt more prepared, more energized, and were more ready to go. But just said down the stretch, right, just a couple too many mistakes, and at the end of the day, North Carolina is too good of a team to not capitalize on them. But the energy, it was there. The mistakes, unfortunately, were also there for Syracuse, and that was really the big thing. But no, not one particular facet. I would have to agree. In that first matchup against North Carolina, it felt like you could point to 3 or 4 different things, the face-off, goalie play, etc. This one, there's not one thing that's just jumping off the page for me that Syracuse did so much worse than North Carolina that led to the loss.
Wow, Drew, it's almost like Gary Gate gave the same exact answer that he gave last week against Notre Dame about the loss. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Hey, we also got to talk to Joey Spallina, which was nice, and he honestly was a little bit more fired up. Was asked a question about, what hope you can bring into the NCAA tournament, and cut off the question before it was even completed, saying, "We got hope because we're Syracuse and we're still playing and we still got fight, and this team is nowhere near done." And very confident in saying that, right? And of course, you want your star player to be doing that, but at the end of the day, this was not a welcome sight for Syracuse, especially after that second half. You mentioned Notre Dame last time out against the Fighting Irish, who, by the way, lose to Virginia. So it really goes to show you just how tight this ACC is.
Drew, was there anything else Spallina was asked that his response stuck out to you?
He was only asked a couple of questions, kind of stood idly by, was talking a lot about his role as the distributor on the team. He was just going out there making the right play, not necessarily always the flashy play. Obviously doesn't finish with a goal, but nowhere near the reason why Syracuse lost this one, which, to be fair, in that first matchup, Spallina was one of those, things you could point at and say he wasn't good enough, finishes with 0 points. But I thought Spallina made the right play 9 times out of 10 today. Would have loved to have that behind the back one, said he just missed that one. Really could have turned the tides there. But listen, Spallina played good. Really, you look around, McCool, okay, didn't have his best game. Other than that, there's not one guy you say, man, he's the reason why Syracuse sold this game away. It was a collective effort that the fourth quarter just kind of fell short, and UNC, a really good team, took advantage.
Yeah, obviously, if you're at home and you want to call in and chat with the three of us, 315-443-2011, the number to call, breaking down North Carolina's 12-10 win over Syracuse in the ACC semifinals. Drew, a little bit of an interesting thing in this game was the clearing issues. Obviously, you mentioned you were listening in earlier and we were talking about it. It just felt like Syracuse really rushing the clears, and they had 5 failed clears today. Did Gary mention really anything about why they were so sloppy or what was really going on in that department? Because this is a really uncharacteristic issue. This has been a very solid team. They don't turn the ball over in transition. They're very apt at getting goals in transition, and today it was just a completely different story.
Especially down the stretch, right? Talked a lot about mistakes as kind of an umbrella term, but if you want to hyperfixate on one thing, it'd be the clears. Syracuse not good enough today. Really, I've been talking about how you can't point at one thing. Maybe you can in that department. You give up 5 that you would love to have back there. He didn't say anything in particular. From my vantage point, it just seemed that North Carolina was screaming to the ball, didn't let Syracuse breathe, especially after that halftime break, clearly an adjustment. The Tar Heels did a lot better a job in that second half. It felt like making Syracuse uncomfortable, especially down in the last 15.
And that's what it feels like. It feels like these teams, Syracuse had the lead last week, and they have the lead again today at halftime, and it feels like teams adjust at halftime. Maybe not a lot of subject matter for Syracuse to go on. Maybe there wasn't really anything that they felt like they needed to change, but it feels like 2 weeks in a row where they're getting out-adjusted at halftime. Did Coach Gate have any indication that maybe there was something that they didn't tweak at halftime or something that they tried to tweak but it didn't work? Because UNC obviously made some pretty strong tweaks because they outscored Syracuse 8-4 in the second half.
Mentioned how the face-off didn't go their way towards the end of the game, especially after, I believe it was an 8-4 margin that Mullen had at one point and ends trailing UNC. So that was the one thing he said they'd like to have back and maybe attack a little bit differently. But no, other than that, there wasn't one thing he really pointed to. It's a lot of little things that piled up that turned out to be the difference. There wasn't that one big thing today that it feels like Syracuse was out-adjusted. I heard you talk, Josh, about how it feels like Syracuse kind of playing the same 60 minutes of lacrosse. And to a certain extent, I would definitely agree with you there. But after that first half, would you want to play a different 30 minutes
and
of lacrosse?
And that's kind of the point I was trying to make, because they were up 2 goals and, they're dominating the face-offs.
Guys, there's a clear difference between the first and second half, and it's that Syracuse really didn't have the ball all too much. Yeah. I mean, Drew, you just said how Gate had mentioned it. Face-offs took a total flip on its head.
Sure.
When Syracuse plays at its best, it's when John Mullen is playing at his best. We saw last season who was the player that came through the most for Syracuse. It was probably John Mullen. He was incredible that entire postseason run, and the second half, he stank it up today.
But you got to understand who he's going up against on the other side. And I know Mullen's expectations are high.
It's been like this all season. It's been like this all season.
The best guy in the entire country, no doubt.
He's up there.
Wambach got whacked last week. This week, Mullen got to him early, and then Wambach flips it on his head.
Are you trying to make the argument that Wambach isn't the best face-off guy in the country?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Mullen impressed in the first half, and then the second half, it went back to same old John Mullen.
I think it went back to same old.
No,
Brady
totally
Wambach,
disagree.
Personally,
Wambach and Mullen were meant to be neck and neck best Fogos in the country this season, and it has turned into
at the start of the season. But John, we're well past that point where there's a clear separation. And
but the expectation for Mullen game in game out is supposed to be that they're going
John Mullen was the difference maker in this one for Syracuse.
When you go 10 of 20 and you have a fourth quarter penalty for tripping after a faceoff, I think that's a pretty big difference.
I guess, but you're going to sign up for just south of 50% every day of the week against North Carolina. You ask any team, that is a winning formula against UNC.
You're saying you're going to sign up for sub 50% for Mullen?
Against Wambach, yes.
I actually have to side with Drew here. I think when you match these two teams up on paper, UNC might only have the advantage in the faceoff department. So if it really creeps up there to the 70, 80%, if Wambach would have won 70%, there's no chance Syracuse wins this game. So if you do settle for 45, 48%,
but
I think you have a good shot to win.
I guess maybe I'm still a little too high on Mullen in some sense. I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to say that Wambach isn't absolutely phenomenal. He is the best Fogo in the country, Drew. I agree with you on that point. But
Thank you, John.
Hey, anytime, man. No worries. But
Drew with the normal take.
Wow. Incredible. What I will say, though, is that Mullen can go 10 of 20, and I guess you can be happy with that.
Not with 6 face-off violations.
But that's the thing. He had 6 face-off violations. One of them.
That's been a problem all season.
Yeah.
It wasn't in that first half, and it turned out to be a huge
and what
factor.
happened in the first half? They went into the breakup too, and then what happened in the fourth quarter? He has the tripping penalty to cause a 6-on-4 that starts a 5-goal Notre Dame run. That's unacceptable.
I completely agree. If you want to point to one moment in the game, it's that 6-on-4 that UNC ended up taking advantage of.
That was the tide in this game that turned.
Yeah, totally.
So it felt for one time that's
the biggest thing that you can point to from John Mullen's day. But at the end of the day, Wambach is the best Fogo in the country for a reason. And by the way, you want to pick another moment, how about 2 goals in 30 seconds? When it felt like Syracuse really had the momentum starkly on its side, Wambach comes through not only at the face-off X, but also right around the crease and scores a pair. So really, at the end of the day, there's not one big thing, Mullen included, that I can point to and say Syracuse lost the game because of blank.
Well, I think you pointed to the fact that he had the tripping penalty that led to 2 goals in 30
But that's not what it's a factor. It's not the reason Syracuse lost the 60-minute lacrosse.
No.
Am I crazy to say that you could point at McCool and say this is kind of on him?
No.
I was more on your side there, John, until the end of the game where he brought it back up close to 50%.
Yeah, I was
going
to say. He got peppered in the fourth quarter like he did last week as well. I mean, he faced 10 shots in the fourth quarter, and a good chunk of those were on the man down. I mean, his team was not helping him out. I don't think Jimmy McCool was getting help from his defense in the second half.
His man down stop was massive at the end of the game to try and keep Syracuse.
And then he has a zone defense put in front of him, which is basically asking for a goal.
And then a clearing unit that can't get it past midfield.
So, no, I think there's no argument you can make that this falls on McCool. I think he did.
It doesn't fall on McCool. I will say, Josh, there's a few moments that you would love your goalie to step up, and he did not step up in a few big moments. So, right, it's kind of like it's the same argument. If Joey Spallina, today it's not the case, but lots of times, once in a while, Spallina kind of an off day, still finishes with a couple points, whatever it may be. But does he step up in those big moments? Right. In this case, McCool didn't really fade, but didn't step up when you needed him the most. Tight angle shots snuck through, especially in that first half of the fourth quarter. And at the end of the day, McCool wasn't the difference maker in a Syracuse win, and someone needs to be the difference maker. I don't care. I want us to stop framing our mentality as, okay, why did Syracuse lose the game? How about why did Syracuse win the game? Who stepped up in a big moment? And McCool definitely did not do that.
Well, it just felt like such a blah loss. It just felt like there was nothing you could point to.
The only issue is that Syracuse didn't win the game. So you can't really point any fingers and say, why did Syracuse win the game that they didn't win?
But I want to have that. I want to have that hypothetical conversation, and no one's giving me the reason to have that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, Syracuse falls 12-10 at the ACC Championship. We thank Drew for all his hard work down in Charlotte and for calling in and letting us know what Gary Gait had to say after the game. Not much that Gary Gait had to say, which is pretty usual for his pressers after losses. He doesn't like to spoil his secrets of what he does at halftime.
Holds the cards to the chest. Keep them tight.
Yes. But when we come back on the double overtime, John Baccio and I give our final words here on WAER.
Delve into the rich tapestry of acoustic-led folk, roots, and Americana music here on 88.3 FM WAER. Enjoy national and international acts, as well as local artists every Sunday with host Pete Thomas. Whether you're seeking the comfort of timeless classics or contemporary gems and music discovery, don't miss Common Threads, Sundays from 2 to 5, exclusively on 88.3 WAER, your local NPR station. Whether you're trying to stay up to date on current events, hoping to discover new music, or tuning in to our live Syracuse University sports coverage, there's something for everyone on WAER. We have your favorite programs from NPR and local content only available on 88.3. You can find a complete program schedule online at WAER.org.
Straight away. Anderson with 25 on the shot clock, passes right wing. Leo shoots and connects. A high to low bouncer gets right past Marcus. Whistles bottom right corner.
North Carolina just can't stop. It's too addicted to the shindig of winning and advancing to the ACC championship final. 2nd-seeded North Carolina takes down 3rd-seeded Syracuse men's lacrosse. 12-10 the final. A brutal loss for SU to end the ACC championship for it and looking ahead to NCAA tournament play. Alongside Josh Rothert, I'm John Baccio. If you have any thoughts, you could call in at 315-443-2011, or you could reach us on Twitter and YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. Josh, it's going to be an interesting selection Sunday, to say the very least, for SU. I have a feeling we could see the Orange as high as 4 and probably as low as 6.
And it's a different feeling than last year. I think last year they kind of got to enjoy the rally that they built up until that point. And this year it kind of feels like now we're just sitting here waiting on our fate. And we are in no control of what happens because
You lost in the first round of the ACC championship, a 2-score defeat to North Carolina, a team that's now beaten you twice this season. A brutal loss at the hands of the Heels. With that, we take you to our final words, and mine's a pretty simple one, Josh. It's the little things. Turnovers, clears, passing. It's the stuff that you learn in 5th grade that'll come back and bite you. Penalties, another huge one, especially late in the game where you had 3 in the 4th quarter. Mullen and Dwan get double booked for the 6-on-4. It leads to 4 straight scores. UNC scores 5 of the last 6. You keep it calm, cool, and collected. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. You don't mess up 5 clears. You don't lose by 2 goals. You don't turn the ball over 16 times. Granted, UNC had 20, but you don't turn the ball over 16 times. You don't lose that bad. And the worst part about the 16 TOs is the fact that only 6 of them were caused. So that's 10 turnovers.
Just give the ball away.
Yeah, well, why not? Who needs it? Who needs the ball at the end of the day? So ultimately, it truly is the little things. It's the tiny, tiny, tiny things within Syracuse, especially in this game, that changes the outlook entirely of what this season could look like. Because if Syracuse waltzes into the first round of the NCAA tournament and has 16 turnovers with 10 of them not even forced, good chance it loses.
100%.
The only way Syracuse wins a game like that is because it's in the dome and the offense plays like the offense that we know it can. So that's why my final word on this game is, if you keep the little things in check, you'll be just fine. If not, there is a dark road ahead, sir.
Little things, John.
Tiniest ones.
That seems doable, right?
Sometimes it's not.
Well, for my final word, I need to find what happens at halftime.
To be a fly on the wall.
For this team. Do they talk about what they did in the first half?
I think they just sit there and gloat, Josh.
Well,
that's at least what you seem like to me.
See,
to make it out to be.
Good reason to be happy at halftime the last 2 weeks. Let's go on the road. Let's take on Notre Dame. We have a chance to get the top seed and win the outright ACC championship. That's what Syracuse is saying as they're going to the locker room, which is behind our Lotta Stadium because it's a 7-minute walk to the locker room. So we didn't actually get to have a real locker room.
It's in the football stadium,
yes,
which is well past across the street.
So maybe there, Syracuse is saying, we're doing a good job. Let's just keep doing what we're doing and expect that the team we're going to face in the second half is going to be the same team we played in the first half. But, John, it's not that simple. See, Kevin Corrigan says, let's make some adjustments. And Notre Dame did, and they win that game. And today, Syracuse 3-goal lead late in the second quarter, feeling good, and they take a lead into halftime, and it evaporates in the second half. And it seems like it's a cyclical thing that Syracuse plays the same 60 minutes of lacrosse every week. There's no changes. There's no reason to change because if you're winning at halftime, theoretically you should win the game.
Clearly nothing's going to happen in that case, right?
And so for the second straight week, it feels like there needs to be some sort of change at halftime. Is that we need to be cleaner in transition? Is that the defense needs to not commit penalties in the fourth quarter? A lot of stuff needs to be addressed at halftime, even when Syracuse is winning.
We'll find out if that all gets cleaned up in the first round of the NCAA tournament when Syracuse could take on a plethora of teams, whether that's Army, whether that's Georgetown, whether that's an at-large bid, a Penn State of sorts.
And this season is far from over, John. There's a lot hanging on this team. This is the class
it's the seniors'
that was
last
meant
ride
to restore Syracuse to its glory days. And if you thought for a second they were going to go down easy, I think there's still... I mean, Drew said it. Spleen is fired up. Maybe this loss is the one, and I know we said it the first time they lost to Princeton, the first time they lost to UNC, this time they lose to UNC. Is this the loss that's going to finally fire them up? It's now or never. They can't lose any more times.
Only time will tell. They can't lose any more times. And to find out who its first-round matchup is, stay locked in at WAER Sports on X. We'll give you all the new info as to who Syracuse takes on the national stage. Some thank yous to hand out before we get out of here. Producer Augie Walters, our engineer Jason Stalakis, and our WAER desk, Jack Knight, Cadence Kilhoff, Danny Diaz. Thank you all for your incredible work so far tonight. It's been a fun one. 12-10, number 3 seed Syracuse men's lacrosse falls to number 2 seed North Carolina down in Charlotte, North Carolina in the ACC Championship semifinals. That'll do it here for Josh Rothert and John Baccio. So long. Have a good night.